You know, we talk a lot about belly fat, that kind of stubborn layer around our middle. But what if the real problem, the actual danger, isn't the fat you can see or even pinch? What if the most dangerous fat is completely invisible?
That's really the question we're diving into today. We're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden type of fat that's way more than just a cosmetic issue. It's an active threat to your health, and it's working deep inside your body. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll identify this unseen belly fat. Then, we'll get into why it's so dangerous and unpack the biological trap it sets. After that, we'll cover how to break the cycle with diet, reinforce it with exercise, and finally, wrap it all up with a clear action plan.
Okay, first things first. To really get a handle on this, we need to be clear about what we mean when we say belly fat, because it turns out there are two totally different kinds.
Just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got subcutaneous fat. That's the stuff right under your skin, the fat you can literally pinch. But on the other side, we have visceral fat. Now this is the real troublemaker. It's stored way deep inside you, behind your ab muscles, and it's crowding your vital organs. You can't pinch it, but it's the reason your waistline gets bigger.
All right, so now that we know how to tell them apart, let's really dig into why this hidden visceral fat is the one we should all be concerned about. The key words here are metabolically active. Seriously, this is so important. Subcutaneous fat kind of just sits there. But visceral fat, oh no, it's not passive at all. It's more like a rogue organ, constantly pumping out nasty inflammatory chemicals into your body. And here is what that leads to. All those inflammatory substances and fatty acids get dumped right into your bloodstream. This obviously raises your risk for major problems like heart disease and type 2 diabetes, but it also creates something called insulin resistance. And that becomes this huge wall that makes losing fat even harder. And that brings us to the absolute core of the problem. It's this biological trap that makes losing this specific fat so frustrating. It's literally a self-perpetuating cycle. I mean, this quote just says it all. The more visceral fat you have, the harder your body makes it to lose that fat. It's a cruel trick, right? It's a classic catch-22, a biological trap you can easily fall into. Let's just walk through exactly how this maddening cycle works. Okay, so first, the visceral fat releases all that inflammatory stuff. This causes step 2. Your body cells get resistant to insulin. They just start ignoring its signals. So what happens? Well, your blood sugar and insulin levels stay high all the time. And here's the kicker. Step 4. Those high insulin levels basically act like a lock on your fat cells. They physically block your body from releasing and burning stored fat. Okay, that sounds pretty bleak, I know. But here is the good news. You absolutely can break the cycle. So let's get into the solutions, starting with your number one most powerful tool, your diet. See, the whole key to breaking the cycle is getting a handle on insulin. And a low-carb diet is the most direct way to do that. By cutting back on carbs, which are what spike your blood sugar the most, you stop those high insulin levels that were locking up your fat cells in the first place. So whether we're talking about a low-carb diet or something like fasting, the real goal is exactly the same. You're trying to create a low insulin state in your body. That's the key. That's what finally unlocks your fat cells and lets your body get back to burning that stored visceral fat for fuel. And get this, it might not be as extreme as you think. One study found that even a pretty modest low-carb diet, where people were still getting 43% of their calories from carbs, was super effective. It just goes to show you, it's not about being perfect, it's about moving in the right direction. And the results of that study really speak for themselves. I mean, look at this. When they put the diets head-to-head, the lower-carb group lost way more visceral fat than the lower-fat group. The data's pretty clear. If you want to target this specific fat, you gotta target the carbs. Now, another really powerful strategy is intermittent fasting. It's simple, really. By creating chunks of time where you're not eating, you naturally keep your insulin levels way down, which puts your body right into that fat-burning state. And yep, studies show it's fantastic for reducing waist size and tackling metabolic syndrome. So diet is your primary weapon for sure. But if you really want to supercharge your results, you bring in the second escape tool, exercise. And what we're talking about here is a real 1-2 punch. On one side, you have resistance training, like lifting weights. Its main job is to improve your insulin sensitivity, making your cells listen to insulin again. That helps break the vicious cycle right at its source. Then, on the other side, you have aerobic exercise. This is your direct assault on visceral fat, especially when you crank up the intensity.
So the big takeaway here is that you don't have to pick one over the other. In fact, you shouldn't. When you combine them, you get this amazing synergy. The resistance training fixes the underlying metabolic problem, and the aerobic exercise just torches the fat. Together, they're an unstoppable team.
Okay, let's bring it all home. In this last section, we're going to condense everything we've talked about into a simple, straightforward plan that you can actually use. Here it is, your 3-step strategy. Step 1. Adopt a lower-carb diet to get that insulin down and unlock your fat cells. Step 2. Think about adding in some intermittent fasting to give your body even more time to burn fat. And Step 3. Boost everything with a smart exercise routine that combines both resistance training and cardio. This isn't just a random list of tips, it's a complete system for breaking the cycle for good. So we've laid it all out. We've talked about the problem, the mechanism behind it, and the solution. The science is solid and the path forward is clear. The power to change this is really in your hands. So the only question left is, what's your first step going to be?